So today we're going to be talking about the introduction to calculus from algebra and how to start sort of thinking in this sort of way. This is still basically algebra, just kind of a gray zone in between. This has to do with making an equation of a line with 2 points. And in algebra, most of the time what I would use, and probably most of you, is y equals mx plus b. This is a very common equation that's used in algebra because it's simple, it's taught early on, and it just is easy to do. Normally when you're given a graph in algebra, you can see that there's 2 points and you can kind of count how far they are apart each other to find the m or the slope. You can find the y-intercept pretty easily just by interpreting the graph. So it's an easier form. However, it gets more complicated when you just are given 2 points. So we're going to find out how to figure out the equation for the given line with just 2 points. So I'll put y equals mx plus b up here just for reference. And we're going to be using a different equation today. We're going to be using point slope equation, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, this is a very important equation for this beginning portion of calculus. So we're just going to be plugging things in. The first thing we need to find is that m. And if you recall, m equals the change in y over the change in x. Right, so how much y changes over how much x changes, and it makes this a fraction. So for example, if you were to have 1 change in y, or it goes up by 1, over 2 change in x, meaning it goes 2 over, then you would have a slope of 1/2. So it would go up once, my apologies, it would go up 1 time, and it would go over 2 units, like such. So you have a point there and a point there. And that's kind of how that works. So to find this, the equation that you're probably familiar is y2 minus y1 over top x2 minus x1, like such. So we're just going to plug in our values. So I've already labeled here, we have x1 and y1, and x2 and y2. If you remember, it's x and y. And this is the first point, and this is the second, and we're just going to plug in our values. So we have 4 minus 5 on top of 2 over 5, negative 2 over 5, minus 2 over 5. Okay? So then we just solve. It's going to be negative 1 on top of, and you're just going to subtract the fractions from each other. On top of negative, I think it's 5, or not 5 over 4, it's negative 4 over, what's it called? Negative 4 over 5, there you go. Sorry, had to do some quick math there. So you have negative 1 on top of negative 4 over 5, so you're just going to simplify. You can do this in a calculator as well. These negatives disappear, and it's just going to equal 5 over 4. So your slope is 5 over 4. So that means that every time it goes up 5 times, it goes over 4 times. Okay? So I'll write that here. So m equals 5 over 4. Okay, that's crucial information. We'll come back to that. We're going to plug this into that m value right there. So we have y minus, we'll use this, y1. So y minus 5 equals m, or slope, 5 over 4 times x minus x1, which is 2 over 5. This can also be done with the second point as well. You just have to change the value. So y minus 4 equals 5 over 4, and then times x plus 2 over 5. Okay, and that's it. That's the whole thing. The reason it's a plus there is because if you recall, this was a negative 2 over 5. So it would be x minus negative 2 over 5, or x plus 2 over 5. So in these equations, whenever you have negative values, it's just going to be a plus. So if this was a negative 4, it would just be plus 4, like such. But it's not. So these are the 2 acceptable answers. They're given in point slope form. You could, however, simplify further to slope intercept form. However, that is unnecessary. Either of these would be acceptable.